Hello, my fellow motion designers. It has been a while, and that's because I went on a Europe trip again this year. And it was such a nice trip going through Germany, Austria, Italy, and last Switzerland. So if you guys missed me, then I'm finally back with another cinema tutorial. And I know a lot of you guys out there want my Houdini tutorials, and fear not, because they're coming really soon. So stay tuned for that. But today we're gonna make this awesome string tearing effect 100% inside of Cinema without any plugins. So I first saw this technique from a couple of Instagram posts, and Intechma also did a tutorial on how to make it in Houdini. But today we're gonna make it in Cinema, so let's just get started. Alright, so here in Cinema, we are first of all gonna start by making a spline. And I'll go to the top window here, and I'll select the spline tool, and then I'll just try to make a spline that's somewhat in the middle. And I'll select both of the points, and then I'll scale it down to 0%, so now we have a straight line. Then with both of my points selected, I'll go and press US for subdividing, and I'll do that 4 times. So 2, 3, and 4. So now we have a lot of points on our spline. Then we're going to go to the 3D view again, and as you can see, yeah, we have a spline here in the middle. Alright, so now we need to create a cloner. And inside of this cloner, we'll put our spline. Alright, so I'll just go down here to the count, and I'll set the count to 1. And then I'll pull up the y-axis to say 50. And then in the Z direction, we'll set it to 10 or 12 for now. Alright, so we have this really big grid. Okay, so I'll just set the spacing here in the size to be 8 centimeters. And as you guys can see, we have this fine grid right here. Alright, cool. And that's actually everything you need to do inside of the cloner. So what we need to do now is we need to go to our front view here, and then we need to create 2 boxes, 2 cubes. And I'll just go and scale these boxes down like this. And I'll just drag them out. Alright, something like this. So I'll just drag the boxes down so they're just overlapping all of our clones. So we can actually use these boxes to pull on our clones, so we can stretch all of these strings out. So I'll create a box here, and I'll duplicate it and pull it up here and create the exact same box so we can pull in both directions. Alright, so then I'll go to frame 20, and I'll go to the 2 cubes here, and I will keyframe the position. Cool. So then I'll go to the last frame here, and I'll first of all drag the top box up a bit, kind of like this, I think, and also drag the bottom box down. And then we can just keyframe them both. So now we have this animation. So we're just pulling on everything here. Alright, so that is what we want to do. Let's go out here again. And we can see that we actually need to make our boxes a little bit bigger. So I'll just go and make the X value a little bit bigger, kind of like this. And I'll also just right click, go to render tags, and I'll use a display tag, because then it's a bit easier to see things. So let's go here, check that box, and I'll choose lines. So now we can actually see through our cube. And I'll just duplicate this tag so we have it on both. Alright, cool. And then I'll just rename this top collider. And just say this one down here, bottom collider. Cool. Top collider, bottom collider. And now we need to do the fun stuff. So let's first of all put a simulation tag, a collider tag on these two up here. So I'll just put a collider tag on both of them, select both of the tags, and then go in here and you can pull up this value that's called stick. So things are actually gonna stick to it. And I'll also set the collide side to be both. And that is it you need to do for the colliders. So let's go down here to our cloner. Let's go to simulation tags and let's use a rope tag here. And inside of the rope tag, we need to do two things. So first of all, we need to go to the stickiness here and we need to set it to 550. So a really, really high number for this thing to work. So they are actually sticking together. And then we'll go and set the radius from 0.5 to 5 centimeters. All right. And I think that's actually it. So let's just go and see what it does. All right. So as you can see, we have an effect, but it's not really the desired effect. And something is happening here at the start. So I think we forgot to turn off our gravity. And that's really not good. All right, so let's go to our project settings by pressing Ctrl D. Let's go down here to simulation. Let's go into scene and let's turn the gravity to 0. All right, let's press play and let's see what's happened. All right, now you can see we are stretching and we are pulling all of the threads out. And it's looking really nice, but we don't have anything happening in the middle right now. And it's a bit weird that we are only having like the two edges being stretched. It's almost like something is keeping it here in the middle. And ideally, we want the middle to be split and these two boxes to keep its form. So how do we do that? Well, there is a really, really easy fix to that. So first of all, you need to create a new cloner. And inside of this cloner, we are going to put a cylinder, just like this. And I'll just turn this cloner around like that. And before I do anything else, I'll just go into the cloner and I'll just keep the radius down to something like 10. Just like that. Maybe even 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. Yeah, it just has to be a really small radius. And then I'll go into the cloner and I'll just pull down so we only have 2 rows like this. And I think I'm gonna keep the 2 rows a little bit more together. Something like that. All right, cool. I'll just move it up here. And then I wanna duplicate this and I wanna move it down here. All right, so we have something like this going on. Then I wanna take my bottom cloner and I'll put it inside of my bottom cloner cube here. And I'll do the exact same with the other cloner. I'll put it in the top collider. Cool. So now we actually have a system here. And if I turn off my rope simulation for a bit, and if I turn off this cloner here, you can actually see what's happening. So these cloners are sticking to our colliders. And that means that we can do some awesome stuff with them. All right, so let me just turn everything on again. And one more thing I need to do is actually go in here to my spline. And I just wanna extend it a bit out here. So just scale it up, just like that. So we have a little bit more to play around with. Let me go and create a random effector here. Let's put it inside of the 2 cloners in the effector tab. And once we do that, we can just minimize these two and we can go inside of our cloner and I'll just reset these values here. So first of all, we need something in the X direction, something like this. And we also need something in the Z direction. So it actually gets a bit more random where these pins are placed. And one more thing we need to do is actually go to the rotation, and I'll just pull some P rotation and some B rotation. Something like this. I'll just go back into my 2 cylinders here inside of my cloners, and I'll just pull up their height. So they are a bit longer, just like that. All right, cool. So let me just go here into my cloner, and if I go under the Effector tab, I have a seed value now. So I'll just play around with the seed until I have something kind of like this, I think. That could be interesting. All right. And I'll just go and hide these colliders right here. And I'll just go and play it. And then you can see what happens. All right, I actually forgot something. So I need to duplicate this collider tag and put it onto my cloner. Because if I don't do that, nothing is gonna happen, as you just saw before. So if I play it now, you can see something is happening. And we have a split in the middle, and then we have these 2 things that are pulling these threads out. All right, cool. And the way you make this really, really interesting is actually by going here to the cloner, and you can pull these 2 a little bit more together. So you get tighter lines, and then you can put a little bit more lines. Let me just check the colliders to see we have some clones inside of them. All right, cool. And I can also pull up this value so we get more depth. And then I also want to find a new seed. Something like this. All right. Yeah, that's looking super, super awesome. So if I just hide my colliders here, you can see we have some nice strings that are tearing apart, and it's really looking awesome. It has this really organic tearing apart effect. All right, cool. So what I want to do now is actually cache this animation. So I'll just cache the scene. All right, cool. So it's cached now. And what we need to do now is actually just render it. And as you can see when I zoom in here, it's a bit jagged. And this is because we don't have enough resolution. But we're actually going to fix that when we render it with Redshift. Then we're just going to subdivide these in the Redshift render, and everything is going to look so freaking awesome. All right, so how do you actually render this? Well, you can go to your cloner here, then you can right click, go to render tags, Redshift object tag, and as you can see, nothing actually shows up. So that's because you need to have it on the curve. And when you have it on the curve or the spline, you have this curve menu here. And this curve menu, we're gonna set to cylinders, and we're gonna set this mesh subdivision to fixed. And I'm just gonna set it to 2 subdivisions max. All right, let me just save this. And one thing I actually noticed is that I could get it to render in my Redshift render view, but when I rendered it in the picture viewer, it didn't have any animation. And I was a bit frustrated, but then I found a fix for it. So if you put your cloner inside of a connect object, then you'll not have this problem at all. All right, and when we move our cloner inside of our connect object, we actually need to delete our cache, and then we can put our Redshift object tag here. Then we can put it onto our connect object, and then we'll still have this curve menu here. All right, and then we can actually cache our scene again. All right, cool. So now it's cached, and let me just go to frame 53 or something like that. Cool. And as you can see, we still have our curve up here. So that's super nice. All right, so let's go and make a Redshift standard material. And let's put it onto our connect. And I'll just go here and let me just create a nice orange color. Something like this. All right. And let's pull up the roughness. And yeah, let's just do that for now. All right, cool. So let me just go and create a light for it. And I'll just create a light that's coming here from the front. Just like this. Oh, just like this. Big softbox that's coming from here. And I'll also have a light at the back that's doing the same, just from the back side. So a big softbox that's coming from behind here. Something like this. All right, super cool. So let me just pull this up a bit. Something like that. And we'll go in here and set the intensity to 1. And let me just see what it looks like. All right, super cool. So let me go to the backlight here. Let's call it back. And let me just pull it up a bit. All right, something like 10. And let's also put this to 10. The front light. And yeah, I'm just gonna fix my resolution quickly. All right, something like that. Cool. So now you can see we have this really awesome looking tearing cloth thing. And as you might remember, I was saying, when you have these jagged edges down here, we're actually going to fix them in the render view. And as you can see, they are really smooth over here. And what we're doing is actually this mesh subdivision down here. If I turn that off, you can see we get the jagged edges back. So it's a really nice thing to have this subdivision here. So we don't actually spend any energy doing it in the simulation state, but we can just do it when we're actually rendering the stuff. All right, cool. So I'll just set the thickness to 2 up here, so they get a little bit more thick. And let me just go and create a simple background here. Just pull every single thing down. There you have it. You have your really awesome pulling apart strings. So remember, if you want another look for your scene, then go up to your random effector, just press another seed, and then you have a whole nother animation. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so that was such a cool and versatile technique. You guys are gonna love to use it in your next renders. So if you're looking for more tutorials, then stay tuned, because there are more tutorials coming in the future. And if you still want more tutorials, then you can go to my channel and you can see all the previous tutorials that I made. And you might find something that you like. So if you have a question for a specific tutorial or technique and just want to chat with some like-minded people, then go to the description. I have a Discord channel that you can sign up to, and you'll get access to this nice chat forum where we do challenges, we help each other out, we just chat for fun, and it's a pretty awesome community. It's called the 3D Design Community, so go and click the link below now. And at last, I can see there's a lot of you guys that are actually not subscribed. So please go and subscribe to my videos. It really helps me out with making this content for you guys. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, you know the drill. Alright, so now that I've plugged all my stuff, then the last thing to say is just go out there, make some awesome renders, and I'll see you back here for some more cinema and Houdini magic. Goodbye.